Hi children, how are you all? I hope all you are fine. Children, in that previous video what we discussed, actually here up to that 7th class we learned, right? In this video we are going to discuss about that new class, that is 8th class concepts. 8th class, the first concept is here rational numbers. In previous videos means that is related to 7th class. So after 7th class here, first topic from that 8th class, that is rational numbers. Okay, see here before going to learn about that rational numbers, children, we all are habituated with, we all are known that about that fractional number. Okay, fractional number means a number which can be expressed in the form of a by b form. Am I clear to you, And in the same way, here children see that actually we are discussing about that fractions, fractional numbers, rational numbers. What about these all numbers? Actually these all are that types of numbers. So first see that what is that flow chart of all the types of numbers. Okay, let us see that. Actually we are having that flow chart, that is complex numbers. All the types of numbers we will call them as complex numbers. Okay in that complex numbers, again that is classified into two types. Complex numbers classified into two types here. What are those? Real numbers, and here imaginary numbers. Imaginary numbers. And here come to that real numbers. Real numbers is the combination of irrational numbers and rational numbers. Irrational numbers and rational numbers. In that rational numbers, now here onwards see that this topic only we are going to discuss, no? Now here see that in that rational numbers, what kind of numbers are there? Here we can observe that negative fractions, positive fractions, along with that integers. What are those, Negative fractions, positive fractions, and come to that here integers. And we know that in that integers what we can observe here? Positive natural numbers, negative natural numbers, along with that 0. So how we can write this one? In that integers we can observe that whole numbers, and in the same way we can observe that in that integers we are having that negative numbers and whole numbers. And in the same way, in whole numbers we know that whole numbers is the combination of 0 and natural numbers. So this is the flow chart of that types of numbers. In the types of numbers, what we will call them? All the numbers here, complex numbers. Complex numbers are the combination of real numbers and in the same way imaginary numbers. Now come to that real numbers. In that real numbers we are having that is the combination of irrational numbers and rational numbers. Okay, now here see that in rational numbers what kind of numbers we can observe here? Positive fractions, negative fractions, along with that integers also. Okay, along with that in that integers we know that whole numbers are there, and in the same way here negative numbers are there. In that whole numbers we can observe that 0 and natural numbers. So we all know about that natural numbers, whole numbers and integers, right? And in the same way we know about that fractions also. Just to say that what about fractions, just recall that concept. Okay see here, what about that fraction here? Fraction means a part of a whole. Fraction means part of a whole. The part of a whole. This is the definition of that fraction. And we know that how to write that fraction for that any picture, fraction for that any object. Okay, how we can express that? For example here, like this, one of the figure is there. This is divided into 4 parts. Now here one of the part is shaded. Now what is the fraction part of shaded part? What is the fraction? How we can represent for that shaded part? We know that how we can represent this one. Shaded part is 1 and the total parts 4. Okay, here 1 by 4 we written, no? 1 by 4 means this place represents that numerator. What is that? numerator. And here 4 represents, this place represents the denominator. Denominator. And in the same way here, numerator means how many parts we taken, how many parts we chosen. Okay, those concepts taken by numerator. And in the same way, denominator always represents the total parts. How many parts you taken? The total parts always represented by denominator here. Okay, ma. Now here see that fraction we can write this one as a numerator by denominator. And we know that this bar is called fraction bar. And in the same way, vinculum. Fraction bar or vinculum. Understood, ma? So this is about that introduction about that fraction, we know that. And in the same way we learn about that what type of fractions are there. Already we learnt in that previous classes, no? So here what kind of fractions are there, ma? Here once recall that, see. We know that decimal fraction. Decimal fraction. Decimal fraction means the denominator is 10 or powers of 10. What is the decimal fraction, ma? Denominator of a fraction. Denominator is 10 or powers of 10. 10 or powers of 10. Then those fractions are called decimal fractions. Just like that example 1 by 10, 1 by 100, 2 by 1000 and so on. Here the denominators are 10 or powers of 10. Powers of 10 nothing but 10 square, 10 cube, 10 power 4 like that. Understood, ma? Now here see that. So this is about the decimal fraction. What kind of another fraction is there means that is vulgar fraction. Vulgar fraction. Children here see that decimal fraction means the denominators are 10 or powers of 10. Here vulgar fraction means what? Here the denominators are other than 10 or powers of 10. What is that? Denominator is other than 10 or powers of 10. 10 or powers of 10. Understood, ma? Here the denominator is other than 10 or powers of 10, which means here denominator is not equals to 10 or powers of 10. Except the 10 or powers of 10, any other number is there means that one consider it as vulgar fraction. Just like the 2 by 3 is there. Here the denominator is 10 or powers of 10, ma? Not equals to 10 or powers of 10. Here the denominator is 3, no? Then here this kind of fraction is called vulgar fraction. And in the same way 12 by 999 is there, for example. Okay, this one also consider it as vulgar fraction. Understood, ma? So this kind of fractions are called vulgar fractions. Now which kind of fractions we will discuss means vulgar fraction having that some kind of fractions. What are those types of vulgar fractions? Types of fractions in that vulgar fractions. Types of fractions. First type of fraction we know that. What is that, ma? Proper fraction. What is that? Proper fraction. Proper fraction means what here? The numerator of a fraction, numerator of a given fraction is less than the denominator. Numerator is less than the denominator. Okay, which means here say that 2 by 3, 4 by 5, 10 by 15 and so on. This kind of fractions are called proper fractions. Why? Because these are called proper fractions means here numerator is less than the denominator. And in the same in reverse order also we can say that what is that? Denominators are greater than the numerator. Then those fractions are called proper fractions. Understood, ma? And in the same way, here second kind of fraction is improper fraction. Improper fraction. So what about that improper fraction here? Here improper fraction is nothing but numerator is greater than the denominator. Numerator is greater than the denominator. Which means here just like that 3 by 2, 5 by 4, 20 by 19 and so on. Just observe that here numerator values are greater than the denominator. 5 is greater than 4, 20 is greater than 19 and so on. So this kind of fractions are called improper fractions. Understood ma? And in the same way here, next one is a mixed fraction. Mixed fraction. Children, here say that mixed fraction means what? Here in that name only there mixed. Mixed means here the combination of a whole and proper fraction is called mixed fraction. The combination of a whole and a proper fraction. Whole and a proper fraction is called mixed fraction. Okay ma? Just see that whole means the total part, and in the same way here improper means here 1 by 2 is improper fraction or not. Here 2 is that whole part and 1 by 2 is that a proper fraction. 1 by 2 is that a proper fraction. Now here the combination of a whole and a proper fraction, then we will call this kind of fractions are mixed fractions. Understood ma? And in the same way we know that how to convert mixed fractions into improper fractions, and only improper fraction we can convert into that mixed fraction. Okay, once again say that, just recall these all concepts. Now here 2 and 1 by 2 is there. This is a mixed fraction, we know that. How to convert into that improper fraction? Here say that mixed fraction is a combination of a whole and a proper fraction, but after converting into that mixed fraction as a fraction, we will get that fraction as improper fraction. Understood ma? Now here say that we can write this one as 2 into 2 plus 1 by 2. Then we will get this one as 2 2's 4 plus 1 by 2. Then we will get this one as 5 by 2. What I told you ma? Here say that here this is the combination of a whole and a proper fraction. Combination of a whole and a proper fraction. After converting into a fraction, here what kind of fraction we got here? 5 by 2. 5 by 2 means numerator is greater than the denominator. Then we will call this fraction as improper only, no? Understood ma? So from this one what we can say here, mixed fractions only we can convert it into that improper fractions, and in the same way improper fractions only we can convert into that mixed fractions. Understood? One improper fraction also say that, for example 20 by 19 is there. 20 by 19. Just take that division only, no? 19 ones 19 and here the remainder is 1. Then how we can write this one? See that here in the denominator we are having that 19, so write in the denominator only, and here we should write that quotient. Here we should write the divisor, and here quotient, and here remainder. Understood ba? Now here say that divisor is that 19, so as it is written, and here at this place we need to write that quotient is 1, and here we have to write the remainder. What is the remainder? 1. So after conversion again say that 19 ones 19, 19 plus 1 20, 20 by 19, again you will get it. Understood ma? So this is the conversion of that mixed fraction into that here improper fraction, and in the same way improper fraction into that mixed fraction. Okay, some other types also there. Now see that next we are having that like fractions. What are those ma? Like fractions. Like fractions means what we can say here, if the fractions, given fractions are having that same denominators. Same denominators. Same denominators. Understood? And in the same way say that example 1 by 7, 2 by 7, 3 by 7, 4 by 7, 5 by 7 and so on. Now here say that children, here all the denominators are having that same number, that is 7. if that numerators are different, whatever it may be, that we should not consider it. Just we have to observe that only denominators. If that given fraction, if the set of given fractions are having that same denominators, then we will call them as like fractions. Understood, ma? And in the same way, unlike fractions means what? Unlike fractions. Unlike fractions means here different denominators. Set of given fractions are having that different denominators. Different denominators. Now here see that 2 by 3, 4 by 5, 1 by 2 and so on. Now observe that here numerator whatever it may be, no matter it is, just we have to observe that only the denominators. Understood? Now here the denominators are having that different numbers. So that's why we will call them as unlike fractions. Understood, ma? And in the same way we are having that unit fractions. Unit fractions. Unit fraction means here if the numerator is 1, numerator is 1. Unit means 1 only, no, we will consider it as 1. So that's why here numerator is 1. Only unit fraction we should consider, just we have to observe that only numerator. Remaining all depends on the denominators only, no. Now here come to that unit fraction, this is related to that numerator. Here 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4, 1 by 5, 1 by 6 and so on. Just observe that all the numerators are equals to 1. Understood, ma? So this kind of fractions are known as unit fractions. So after that we are having equivalent fractions. What is that, ma? Equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions means what? Okay, now here see that equivalent. Okay, in that name only there, exactly equal to that given fraction. After simplification, we will get that same fraction to that given fraction. Just like that, see here, for example, 2 by 3 only there. Here, when we are going to write that the equivalent fractions of the given fraction, first we need to multiply or divided by both numerator and denominator by the same number. Understood? See here, both numerator and denominator should be multiplied by the same number. Here I taken that 2. Okay. Now here 2 2's 4, 3 2's 6. Understood, ma? Now here 4 by 6 is equivalent fraction of 2 by 3. Why? Because here simplest form is there. What is that, ma? Simplest form. So what about that simplest form here? Simplest form means if the numerator and denominator having that same common factors, then we should make that fraction as numerator and denominator are not having any other common factors except 1, or else the HCF of numerator and denominator should be 1. Then only we can say that fractions as simplest form fractions. Understood? Or fractions in simplest form. 4 by 6 is there. So 4 and 6 having the common factor 2. Okay. 2 2's, 2 3's. So we will get this one as 2 by 3. 2 by 3 is that simplest form. We will call this one as simplest form or lowest form or irreducible fraction. Irreducible fraction. These three also having the same meaning, that is both numerator and denominator having that only one common factor, that is 1. Having no any other common factor except 1 also we can say that. Understood, ma? Now here see that. So this type of fractions are in simplest form. So after taking the simplest form of this fraction, again equals to 2 by 3 only, no? Understood. Now we can say that 2 by 3 which is equals to 4 by 6. And in the same way another number I will take. See here. 2 by 3 into, now this one I want to multiply with 3. Both numerator and denominator. Okay. Now here what we will get, ma? 2 3 6. 3 3 is 9. After cancellation, say that 3 2s, 3 3s. Why? Because we are multiplying with 3 means again if you cancel this one with 3, again you will get that same fraction only, no? Multiplication fact and division fact. In that earlier classes we learned about this one, multiplication fact and division fact. Okay ma. Now here say that we will get this one as 6 by 9. Clear? Next one here, 2 by 3 is multiplied by 4 by 4. Both numerator and denominator multiplies by 4 and 4. What you will get here? 2 4s 8, 3 4s 12, 4 2s 4 3s, again 2 by 3. From this one what we can say here ma? What we can say here, say that 2 by 3 which is equals to 4 by 6 which is equals to 6 by 9 which is equals to 8 by 12. Understood? Now here these all are the fractions which are equivalent fractions of 2 by 3. Equivalent fractions of 2 by 3. So children, why we need to learn about that fractions here? So up to now what fractions we written here, those all are positive fractions. Yes or no ma? See that 4 6 2 3 and here see that 4 6 6 9 3 by 3. What numbers we taken here, what fractions we taken here, those all are positive fractions. Okay, we are having that negative fractions also. Negative fractions means what we can write? Minus 1 by 2, minus 3 by 4, minus 2 by 3 and so on. Here fractions are having with negative sign, then we will call them as negative fractions. Now here negative fractions and positive fractions. Negative fractions and positive fractions. These two combination is there in that rational numbers. Understood ma? Now in that rational numbers what we can observe here? Positive fractions we can observe, and in the same way negative fractions also there in that rational numbers. So children, that's why we learned about that fractions. Once again we recall that total fractions, the types of fractions and kinds of fractions along with that equivalent fractions, and in the same way simplest form. Understood ma? After this one here the concept what we are going to discuss in this class, that is rational numbers. Understood ma? About that rational numbers in that next continuation video we will discuss. Okay, thank you all.